Oh, my dear friend, there's a flame inside you, not a spark, not a flicker, a flame. And though the winds of life may blow, though the rain may pour, that flame, it will not die. It was not born of comfort. It was born of fire. You didn't ask for the pain. You didn't ask for the heartache. But listen, you were made for this. The crushing, the breaking, the bending. It was not your end. It was the beginning of something sacred. Let me tell you, the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. And that fire, your struggle, is not your enemy. No, it is your greatest teacher. It has come not to destroy you, but to refine you. Struggles are not setbacks. They are refining fires. So often, when we face hardship, when the weight of life feels too heavy to bear, we assume we must have taken a wrong turn. We question ourselves, we question the timing, we question the journey. There's something within us that wants to resist the pain, to run from the pressure, to label the struggle as a sign that we are broken or somehow unworthy. But that is not the truth. The truth is, this struggle is not a step backward. It is not evidence that you failed. It is not a detour from your destiny. The struggle is the fire, and the fire is where greatness is born. Fire doesn't destroy gold, it purifies it. In the same way, the struggle comes to strip away what you don't need: the doubts, the fear, the insecurity, the false belief that you are less than what you are. It doesn't feel good while it's happening. No fire does. But the purpose of the fire isn't to hurt you. It's to reveal the strength you already carry. When everything is going well, we don't look deep. We float, we coast, we stay where it's comfortable. But when struggle enters the room, something shifts. You begin to dig, you begin to ask, you begin to stretch, you begin to awaken. It's in the struggle that you find out what you're made of. It's in the refining fire that your character is forged. You don't become stronger in the absence of pain. You become stronger in the presence of it. Struggle builds spiritual muscle. It forces you to reach for something beyond yourself. It's in the long nights, in the unanswered questions, in the closed doors that you discover a deeper well of endurance. That's when faith becomes more than a word. That's when vision becomes more than a dream. That's when you begin to see with different eyes. The refining fire changes your perspective. It doesn't just toughen you, it clarifies you. It burns away the distractions and brings you face to face with what truly matters. Too many people try to escape the fire before it has done its work. They try to numb it, deny it, avoid it. But what you run from, you also surrender to. What you stay with, you overcome. Every scar, every disappointment, every heartbreak can be part of the refining, if you allow it. Struggle is not always the enemy. Sometimes it is the messenger. Sometimes it is the sculpt. Sometimes it is the very tool being used to shape the person you are becoming. You may look back one day and realize that the moments you thought were breaking you were actually building you. The confusion, the delays, the tears, they were carving strength into your soul. They were making space for wisdom. They were preparing you for a future you couldn't yet see. The refining fire does not ask for your permission. It comes when it's time for the next level of growth. It comes to do the deep work that comfort never could. We don't grow in spite of the struggle. We grow because of it. There is no shortcut to resilience. There is no easy path to power. And though it may not feel like it now, the fire is not the end of you. It is the beginning of who you really are. Pain is a teacher, not a punishment. When pain enters our lives, the first instinct is often to resist it. We flinch, we tighten, we ask, why me? We see pain as something to avoid, something to be ashamed of, something to hide from the world and from ourselves. But pain, in its most honest form, is not our enemy. It is a messenger, a guide, a teacher that doesn't whisper in soft tones but speaks in a language that cannot be ignored. It shows up when it's time to listen more deeply, when it's time to pay attention to something we've long buried, when it's time to grow in ways we never would have chosen voluntarily. Pain has a way of stripping us down to our essence. It removes the noise, the illusions, the mask we wear to get by. It doesn't care about appearance or performance. It gets to the core of who we are, and in that raw, vulnerable space, we meet truths we've been avoiding. Not because we're weak, but because we're human. And in those moments of exposure, when our hearts feel split wide open, there is the opportunity to learn something we couldn't have grasped any other way. It's easy to praise life when everything is going well. It's easy to believe we're strong when we're not being tested. But pain brings a kind of clarity that nothing else can. It teaches us about our limits, but also about our capacity. It shows us where we still hold fear, where we've allowed bitterness to grow, where we've settled for less than we deserve. It confronts us with our own story and asks whether we're truly living or merely surviving. The lessons pain brings are not always gentle. They come in silence, in sleepless nights, in questions that echo without answers. They come in the form of endings we didn't expect, in losses we didn't think we could survive, in betrayals that cut deep. But within every ache, there is a lesson trying to reach us, not to shame us, but to shape us. Not to bring despair, but to wake us up to a deeper strength that lies within. People often mistake pain as punishment, as if they are being singled out or judged. But life does not punish with pain, life reveals with pain. It pulls back the curtain to show what we've ignored, what we've postponed, what we need to confront in order to heal and move forward. Pain brings us to a place of choice. Will we lean in and learn, or will we harden and hide? There is wisdom in the wound. Every ache is asking us to listen, to the body, to the heart, to the life we've built around us. What needs to change? What needs to be released? What parts of us have been silent for too long? Pain is not the enemy of peace, it is often the pathway to it. It uncovers what is unhealed, unmended, untouched by grace. And when we dare to look into its eyes, we often find something surprising, not just sorrow, but truth. Not just grief, but growth. Some of the most compassionate, grounded, and powerful people are not those who have escaped pain, but those who have been shaped by it. They've let pain teach them, not just about hardship, but about empathy, about patience, about resilience. Pain taught them how to sit with discomfort without running, how to show up even when broken, how to love without fear. It wasn't punishment that gave them that power. It was the lessons they dared to learn from their suffering. Your lowest point can be your turning point. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart at once. Moments when the noise of disappointment becomes deafening, when the weight of failure presses so hard on your chest that it's difficult to breathe. These are the times when the floor drops out from under you, when people walk away, when dreams collapse, when even hope feels far away. It's easy to believe that these low points are the end of the road, that they are proof you've gone too far, lost too much, or become someone beyond repair. But there's another truth beneath the surface, a quiet, unshakable truth. What looks like the end can be the very place where your next chapter begins. It's in the valley, not on the mountaintop, that your roots grow deep. The lowest point forces you to stop running, to stop pretending, to stop clinging to things that no longer serve you. In that stillness, something sacred can happen. When everything is stripped away, what remains is the core of who you are. You begin to see not with your eyes, but with your soul. You realize that your worth was never in your title, your bank account, your followers, or your performance. Your worth was always in you, unchanging, unmoved, undiminished by circumstance. Sometimes you have to be brought low to see clearly. The distractions fall away, the pride quiets down, the mask come off. And in that place of humility and surrender, your turning point begins. Because when you have nothing left to lose, you finally become brave enough to live with nothing to hide. You stop seeking validation and start seeking truth. You stop surviving and start living with purpose. The turning point doesn't always come with fireworks. It often comes in the form of a quiet decision. The moment you say, "I will not give up here." The moment you choose to believe that your pain still has purpose. The moment you take one step forward, even if it's trembling, even if it's small, that is where transformation begins. That is where strength is born, not in the absence of hardship, but in the decision to rise from it. You don't have to be fully healed to begin again. You don't need all the answers to make a change. You simply need to believe that the place of your greatest pain could be the very ground where something beautiful starts to grow. Life has a way of surprising us like that. What feels like a breakdown can be the setup for a breakthrough. What feels like defeat can become the foundation of a new kind of power. The lowest point humbles you. It refines you. It softens your heart and sharpens your focus. It makes you more aware of what matters and less tolerant of what doesn't. And when you begin to rebuild from that place, you do so with a deeper sense of gratitude, with greater compassion, with a fire that wasn't there before. You carry the scars, but you also carry the wisdom. You carry the memory of who you were, and you walk forward with a clearer sense of who you want to become. Others may not see the shift at first. It may not be loud or dramatic, but inside everything changes. Because when you reach that low place and still choose to rise, you've already won a battle most people never see. You've turned pain into power. You've turned the end into a beginning. You've turned your lowest point into the turning point that shapes everything that comes next. Strength is forged, not found. Many people search for strength as if it's something waiting out there to be discovered, hidden in a book, behind a door, in the voice of someone wiser. They wait for the right moment, the perfect conditions, the clear path. They believe that when life becomes easier, then they'll finally be strong. But strength isn't something handed to you. It isn't something you stumble upon by accident. It is forged in fire, in resistance, in the daily decision to keep going when everything in you says to stop. Forging is a process. It's messy, it's painful, and it takes time. Just like metal is shaped by hammer and heat, your inner strength is shaped by pressure, persistence, and pain. You don't learn how strong you are when life is smooth and comfortable. You learn when the odds are against you, when your plans fall apart, when nothing makes sense and you still choose to move forward. That's the fire of transformation. That's where the forging begins. There are moments when you will feel like everything is breaking. Your heart, your faith, your will. But that breaking is not the end of you. It's part of the shaping. Each time you fall and get back up, you're being refined. Each time you face fear and walk through it, you're being tempered. Every challenge that doesn't destroy you is sharpening something inside of you. Something that comfort could never teach. Strength doesn't announce itself. It grows in silence. It builds in the hidden places. While you're crying in the dark, while you're showing up tired, while you're doing the hard things without applause. It grows when you choose to stay true to your values even when compromise seems easier. It grows when you hold on to hope even when you have every reason to let go. And it grows when you choose to forgive, to love again, to believe again after being hurt. These moments may feel small, but they are the very fires in which real strength is forged. The world often celebrates the outcome, the victory, the triumph, the success story. But the real story is in the forging. It's in the days no one sees, the prayers whispered in doubt, the courage it takes just to keep breathing. True strength is not loud. It's not the absence of fear or pain. It's the quiet resolve that says, I will not be defined by this. It's the inner steel that develops every time you say, this is hard, but I'm not giving up. A strength forged in struggle is unshakable. It doesn't come from pretending you're okay when you're not. It comes from facing your truth and walking through it. It's honest, it's raw, and it's yours. No one can give it to you. No one can take it away. It becomes a part of you, welded into your character, sealed into your spirit. And once it's there, you carry it into every room, every relationship, every challenge. You don't need to prove it. You just live it. There's something sacred about being forged. You begin to see others with more compassion. You understand the weight people carry because you've carried it too. Your heart becomes stronger, but also more tender. That's the paradox of forged strength. It doesn't make you harder, it makes you deeper. It makes you more human, not less. You become a safe place for others because you've been through the fire and you didn't let it destroy you. You let it make you. You were made to rise, not to retreat. There is something within you that was built for the climb, for the challenge, for the breakthrough. You were never meant to shrink in the face of adversity or hide from the pressure of becoming. And yet, when life feels heavy, when disappointments pile high, when the voices around you grow louder than the voice within, it's tempting to step back, to fold, to give up on the version of yourself you haven't seen yet. But what if that very tension you feel, the resistance, the discomfort, is the invitation to rise? Rising is not about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down when you do. There's nothing passive about it. Rising takes grit. It takes fight. It takes choosing to stand when everything in you wants to disappear. There will be days when you feel forgotten, when your efforts seem unnoticed, when the dream appears too distant to chase. But even in those moments, you were made to rise. The setbacks are real, but they are not the final word. They are not a signal to retreat. They are a call to dig deeper, to stand firmer, to remember who you are. You weren't made to live small. You weren't meant to walk away from the fire. You were meant to walk through it. Rising doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's saying no to the lie that you are not enough. Sometimes it's having the courage to speak up, to show up, to take the next step when fear is whispering that you can't. Rising is about answering life's pressure not with panic, but with purpose. There is strength in you that has not yet been seen. There is courage waiting beneath the surface of your weariness. Retreat may offer temporary relief, but it never delivers transformation. You can't become what you're meant to be while hiding from what's hard. And deep down, you know this. You feel the discomfort not because you're failing, but because you're growing. The old skin is stretching. The old stories no longer fit. Something new is calling you forward, and to embrace it, you must rise. The world around you might expect you to quit. They might assume your silence means surrender. But the truth is, even in your stillness, you are preparing. Even in your waiting, you are gathering strength. You are not lost. You are in the in-between, the space where transformation brews. And when the time comes, you will rise, not as the version of you that fell, but as someone forged, awakened, and alive. There is no shame in being tired. There is no weakness in needing to pause. But do not confuse rest with retreat. Do not let fear dress itself as wisdom. You were made to rise because your story matters, your voice matters. Your presence in this world is not an accident. There are people waiting for what you carry. There are lives that will be changed by your courage to rise when it would have been easier to disappear. Rising is rarely comfortable. It stretches your faith, tests your resilience, and demands your full self. But it's there, in that tension, in that stretch, that you begin to see what you're truly capable of. Not just surviving, but creating, leading, healing, loving, and becoming. You were made for more than existing in the background of your own life. You were made to rise into your purpose, to rise through your pain, to rise beyond what others believed was possible for you. Everything you've walked through has been preparing you. Every tear, every loss, every delay, none of it was wasted. You were not broken beyond repair. You were being built. Every scar is proof that you didn't retreat. You rose. Fuel your fire with purpose, not pity. There comes a moment when you must decide what will drive you forward. Will it be the weight of what was done to you, or the power of what you were born to do? Will it be the story of your pain, or the vision of your purpose? Too many carry their wounds like anchors, rehearsing their hurts, reliving their disappointments, and allowing pity to become their primary fuel. But pity only burns for so long. It is not the kind of fire that sustains you. It flickers, it fades. It keeps you circling the same mountain, trapped in the same identity of someone who is always hurting, always lacking, always less than. Purpose is a different kind of fire. It burns steady. It gives meaning to the struggle. It takes the ashes of what tried to destroy you and turns them into something powerful. When you fuel your fire with purpose, you're not ignoring your pain. You're honoring it by using it. You're saying, this didn't happen to defeat me. It happened to develop me. That shift is where transformation begins. Because pity leaves you waiting for rescue, while purpose teaches you to rise and walk. There's a temptation, especially after being wounded, to wait for the world to notice, to apologize, to make it right. But healing cannot depend on anyone else's recognition. If you wait for validation to move, you may wait forever. Purpose says move anyway. Purpose says the pain was real, but it's not the whole story. Purpose says what happened is part of your history, but it doesn't have to define your destiny. When you choose purpose over pity, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? You begin to see that the fire inside of you doesn't have to come from rage or revenge. It can come from resolve. It can come from the deep knowing that your life matters, that your voice has value, that your journey carries weight. Purpose takes your fire and gives it direction. It says, you've come too far to stop here. It reminds you that your scars are not signs of weakness. They are signs of survival. They are reminders that you didn't just make it through, you grew through. Pity will tell you to shrink. It will tell you that life owes you something. It will keep you rehearsing the same story of what went wrong. But purpose will stretch you. It will demand more of you. It will push you beyond what you thought you were capable of. Purpose doesn't soothe you, it summons you. It calls you higher. It takes your past and reworks it into a message, into a mission. You start to realize that everything you walked through can now serve someone else. Your story becomes a lamp for someone else's darkness. When you live with purpose, even your quiet steps carry weight. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You simply show up with intention. Every action, every word, every choice becomes part of something greater than just surviving the day. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are building something with it. And that building gives you energy. It ignites something in your soul that pity never could. You're not fueled by what broke you. You're fueled by what you're building because of it. Purpose breathes strength into your daily grind. It keeps you from giving up when progress feels slow. It steadies you when others don't understand your path. It reminds you that your fire is sacred. Not everyone will see it, and not everyone needs to. What matters is that you keep it burning, not for applause, not for pity, but because you have work to do, people to reach, dreams to carry forward. That fire is not there by accident, it was lit for a reason. Your struggle is not a setback, it's a stage. There are seasons when the weight of life presses so hard against your chest that breathing feels like a battle. Seasons when nothing seems to move, when doors close without warning, when answers don't come and everything you trusted feels unstable. It's tempting in those moments to believe that you're behind, that you've missed your moment, that life has skipped over you. But what if this very struggle isn't pushing you back? What if it's positioning you forward? What if this is not a step away from your purpose, but a step into the spotlight where your strength will be seen, where your voice will carry further, where your story will matter more than you imagined? Struggles are not detours. They are stages that prepare you, refine you, and set the atmosphere for something greater to emerge. They create the pressure that calls out the gold in you. You may not feel like anything is being built in the darkness, but foundations are rarely laid in full view. They're formed deep beneath the surface, hidden from the applause, unnoticed by the crowds. And yet, without them, the entire structure would fall. Your struggle is forming your foundation. Every hard lesson, every silent night, every tear is becoming part of something solid. You're not falling apart. You're being framed for something that will last. People often want the stage without the struggle. They want the influence without the isolation, the reward without the refinement. But purpose doesn't work that way. It doesn't hand out shortcuts. It takes you through the wilderness, through the lonely places, through the waiting rooms of life to teach you what comfort never could. It teaches you resilience, depth, clarity. It teaches you who you are when everything else is stripped away. And when you learn that lesson, you step onto the stage not with ego, but with authenticity. You don't show up to impress. You show up to serve. You show up full of truth, because truth is what the world is starving for. Your struggle gives you a story. It gives your voice weight. It gives your perspective power. Anyone can talk about victory, but only someone who's walked through the valley can truly speak life into those who are still in it. That's what your struggle gives you: access, compassion, authority. You don't just become a person who succeeded. You become someone who overcame, and that difference matters. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with honesty. They connect with someone who's been broken and got back up, who's wrestled with doubt and still moved forward, who's carried pain but refused to let it become their identity. There will come a time when the very thing that once made you feel behind will become the reason others listen when you speak. The things that made you feel disqualified will become the very evidence that you were called. Because you didn't quit. Because you didn't disappear. Because you kept standing when no one was clapping. That is what makes you powerful. That is what makes your struggle a stage, not for performance but for impact. It's not about being seen for the sake of being seen. It's about standing on a story that can lift someone else. It's about turning your battle scars into beacons of hope. You may not feel ready. You may still be walking through the fire. But the fire is not just burning you. It's branding you. It's leaving a mark that says, I've been there and I came out wiser, stronger, more aware of what matters. You'll walk into rooms one day and shift the atmosphere. Not because you're loud, but because your life speaks. Not because you avoided pain, but because you let pain prepare you. This struggle is not in vain. It's not random, it's not meaningless. It's setting the scene for something that only your voice, your heart, your resilience can carry. Your pain can become someone else's healing. There is a sacred weight to the things you've survived. Not just the visible moments of loss or heartbreak, but the quiet battles, the sleepless nights, the prayers whispered through clenched teeth. There's a depth to those who have walked through real fire and chosen not to become bitter. You don't wear your pain like a badge of shame. You carry it like a vessel of wisdom. Because when you've truly been broken and rebuilt, your presence becomes a lifeline for others. You begin to realize that the healing you fought for is not just for you. It's for the next person still fighting. It's for the one who hasn't yet found the words to speak their sorrow aloud. It's for the soul who needs to know they are not alone. Your pain can become the bridge between despair and hope for someone else. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've walked through enough darkness to recognize the flicker of light when it shows up. People don't always need someone who's figured it all out. They need someone who can sit with them in the mess and say, me too. I've been there and I'm still here. There is healing in your honesty. There is strength in your scars. There is power in the way you show up with tenderness, not despite what you've been through, but because of it. The journey you've taken through your pain has equipped you in ways no textbook, no mentor, no workshop ever could. It has given you eyes to see what others miss. It's taught you how to listen without fixing, to comfort without preaching. And it's shaped your heart into a sanctuary, a place where others feel safe enough to be real. That is a gift. That is a calling. To be a refuge in a world that often expects people to hide their pain behind performance. You may have wondered at times why you had to go through what you did. Why the losses came. Why the silence lasted so long. Why healing took so much longer than you hoped. But when you begin to pour your story into others, when you share your lessons, when you open your heart and let others draw strength from what you survived, the pieces begin to fit. You begin to see that your story is not just about you. It was never just about you. You are part of a bigger picture, a greater purpose. And your pain, when held with grace and courage, becomes the thread that weaves healing into the fabric of someone else's life. Not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will know the cost of your strength. But the ones who are meant to hear your voice, they will. They'll find comfort in your truth, not because you speak perfectly, but because you speak from a place of real experience. They'll trust you not because you appear unshaken, but because you have clearly been shaken and still chose to keep walking. Your vulnerability becomes a map for those who feel lost. Your journey becomes a mirror, showing others that what feels impossible today can become survivable tomorrow. The world needs more people willing to turn their pain into purpose. More people who refuse to stay silent about what nearly broke them. More voices that rise, not with anger, but with compassion. Your healing is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your impact. The more you share what you've overcome, the more space you create for others to do the same. And in that space, healing spreads, not just through answers, but through presence, through empathy, through courage that says, if I made it through, so can you. A conclusion, so now, as you stand in the center of your life, marked by battles, carved by pain, refined by struggle, let this truth rise in you like fire. You are not broken beyond use. You are burning with purpose. Every setback has been shaping your strength. Every delay has been deepening your roots. Every tear has been watering something sacred. You are not here by accident. The weight you've carried, the nights you thought you wouldn't survive, the moments you whispered prayers no one heard, none of it was wasted. This is your turning point. This is where pain becomes power, where pressure becomes purpose, where you stop hiding from your fire and start feeding it. Because your story is not over, it's unfolding. And the world needs the strength that only comes from those who dare to turn their struggles into strength. Let them see what it looks like to rise, to burn, to build. Let them see what it means to live lit from within, fuel your fire, and never look back.